Confession. Why bother going? What's the big deal? Why is it such a must? Well, we're sinful. We're constantly messing up, and confession is that chance to really start over, to be made clean again and to start fresh. A lot of people are afraid of confession because of what the priest might think. The reality is, there is nothing that those priests have not heard. So do not worry about shocking them, you can't do it. The second thing is that they're under an oath of confidentiality. They are not allowed to disclose your sins to anyone. So any priest that I've talked to has said, you know what, we forget the sin as soon as they go in one ear, they're out the other. Because they can't remember. And if they held all of those sins inside of them, it would be too painful. So they say, you know what, it's gone. There are 3 times when confession is not valid. There's this thing called penance after confession. That's when the priest gives you 3 Hail Marys, 1 Our Father. Maybe you'll have to do a random act of kindness. Maybe if your sin was really bad, you have to do a whole rosary, or you have to say a whole rosary. That's your penance. That's basically saying, Jesus, I am sorry for my sin, and I know you've forgiven me, and now I'm going to do this for you. I'm giving this to you and back to the world. I'm giving you that Our Father. I'm giving you those 3 Hail Marys. I'm giving you that random act of kindness. When you don't fulfill your penance, confession is not valid. It is not complete. The second thing is when you're not sincere. If you're using confession as this get out of jail free card, and you're using it just so you can go sin again, it's not valid. So you're in there saying, oh, I'm going to confess this sin, but then I'm totally going to go do it again, but then I'll go to confession again. Awesome. No, it does not work that way. If you convince the priest that you're being sincere, you're not convincing God. And realistically, in confession, the priest is only acting in persona Christi. He's not the one forgiving your sin. He is acting in the person of Christ. It is Jesus forgiving you of your sins. He can tell whether or not you're being sincere. The third time is when you're in confession and you've confessed a few sins, and then you think of that one, that really hard one that you just don't want to say. And so you keep yourself from saying it, and the priest absolves you of your sin. That's not a valid confession. You have to say it. The priest does not need to hear it because he forgets it. God does not need to hear it because God already knows. You need to say it. You need to say it for yourself. You need to man up. You need to woman up. You did it, so now say it. And sometimes I've been in confession and it's like, I never want to say that again. I never want to have to confess that again. And you know what? Saying it out loud helps me not do it again. It helps me resist temptation in the future. So again, man up, woman up, and say it. When we're in a state of sin, we literally see life through that state. Think of sin as like a lens over our eyes, and we see the world through that lens. A lot of this world justifies their sin. Premarital sex, watching porn, getting drunk, getting caught up in materialism, so your cars and your clothes and your makeup and your whatever we get obsessed about. The world tells you that this is normal. The world tells you that this is okay. It's not normal, and it was never meant to be normal. And yet when we're in that state of sin, we convince ourselves that it's normal. So if you start going to confession, God starts changing your heart. And you literally change. And those sins that you used to think were okay, suddenly, you know what? Life's a lot better when I'm not sinning in those ways. Be different than the rest of this world. Work on your sin. Set the bar high, live at a higher standard, be different than the world. The moment you start looking at like everyone else is the moment you really have something to worry about, because this world thinks a lot of stuff that isn't okay is okay. You don't want to be that person. Be different, be exceptional, get to confession. The reality is that the priest is not allowed to disclose your Chris.